A light flickers in a room that has forgotten your name, not because you are lost, but because you are molting. A cup trembles on the table, your pulse counts something older than time, and in the hush before language sets its nets, a presence leans in and whispers, "You are not failing, you are widening." The floor doesn't fall away, the floor learns to sing. Tonight, the universe lowers its voice to your frequency and asks if you're ready to be rearranged. The night the light learns your name. There are evenings when exhaustion doesn't arrive like sleep, but like weather, vast, unhurried, folding itself around the furniture of your life until every object seems to listen. You sit very still and notice how the air has weight, not the weight of sorrow, but the gravity of a tide turning. You have done everything you were told would help: the mantras, the breathwork, the austere silence of blue-lit dawns. Yet your body hums like a cathedral after the choir has gone home, reverberant, emptied, ringing with the ghost of a higher note. Tears gather without a story. A patience you didn't earn stands at the doorway of your chest and refuses to leave. This is not collapse. This is calibration disguised as quiet. The modern myth says fatigue is a verdict. The older truth, older than asphalt and alphabets, says fatigue is the knock of a craftsman at your ribs. The light does not blaze through. It measures, fits, and files. It finds the edges of your old architecture and asks permission to widen the hallways. You are not sad. You are unsettled, which is what happens when the soul grows a size and the body must learn the new choreography. Think of a violin the moment before it is tuned, each string almost right, humming against the next, with a sweetness that is mostly friction. That is you, not broken. Resonance, mid-birth. In the pause between two breaths, you swear you hear instructions, but not in words. The nervous system speaks in voltages and intervals, not sentences. It tells you what the clouds already know. There is a way to become heavier with water and more likely to rain, and it involves stillness. So you wait, not as a tactic, but as a sacrament. You do less, which allows more to happen. The light moves from the perimeter of your life to the interior, from idea to tissue. You do not glow brighter, you conduct better. And somewhere behind your sternum, a door that has always been locked for your safety sighs open on its hinges. This is the hour when something holy learns your exact name, not the one on paper, the one your cells answer to. The room does not change, and yet the room has a center now. It is located where you are breathing. Old ambitions fall quiet, not because they were wrong, but because they were loud. In their place arrives a precision that feels like kindness. You begin to suspect that the light you sought was never elsewhere. It was only waiting for you to stop sprinting long enough to be found. The premise, hiding in your pulse. Let the thesis arrive without fanfare. You are not falling apart. You are synchronizing with what you asked for. The fatigue that frightens you is simply coherence assembling beneath your habits. What looks like the loss of motivation is the refusal of your deeper intelligence to fund what no longer carries truth. Your body is not a traitor. It is a union steward calling a strike against unsafe working conditions in your soul. We begged for awakening as if light were an accessory. It is not. Light is an architect. It redraws floor plans. It removes load-bearing lies. It trades a staircase of effort for a spiral of trust. Integration always precedes radiance. We do not become luminous by piling wattage on top of fracture. We become luminous when the wattage settles into bone, when breath and values sign the same contract, when the nervous system is convinced, not bullied into a wider peace. The pulse carries this premise like percussion. Nature upgrades by rhythm, not decree. Seeds do not fail when they split, they root. Caterpillars do not burn out inside cocoons. They liquefy into blueprint and rebuild. We romanticize metamorphosis and then panic when our plans go to soup. Yet the soup is the sanctuary enzymes of honesty dissolving structures that cannot carry the next octave of you. You are not late. You are on time for your next physics. The mind is very skilled at narrating decline. Let it rest. The body tells a different story in data and sensation. Notice how your breath lengthens when you stop performing brightness. Notice how your jaw unhooks when you let grief speak first. Notice how your spine, your private lightning rod, finds a vertical tenderness the instant you remember that no is a sacred word. These are not soft skills. They are the mechanics of coherence. We were taught to pursue a high vibration like a trophy shelf, more light, more love, more altitude. But there is no altitude without atmosphere. You must learn to hold pressure. You must learn to descend, not as failure, but as fertilization, bringing oxygen to the roots so the canopy can accept more sun. The paradox is non-negotiable. To rise sustainably, you must master landing. The soul widens, the body slows, the mind yields. Calibration is not glamorous, but glamour has never built a galaxy. Gravity and grace did that, together. So the premise is not moral, it is musical. Your life must be tuned to the key of your truth, or it will sound like effort, and effort is the most expensive instrument to play. Let the tuning happen. Let the tempo drop. You are not becoming less, you are becoming specific. Field notes from the body electric science, when it stops apologizing for wonder, speaks the language of sanctuaries. Consider this. The heart generates the strongest measurable electromagnetic field in the body, detectable beyond the skin. When emotion and breath agree, what researchers call coherence, heart rhythms smooth, brain waves entrain, stress chemistry eases, immune function wakes like dawn. This is not mysticism sneaking into the lab. It is the lab catching up to the obvious. Feeling changes physics inside a human. Max Planck, father of the quantum, confessed that consciousness is fundamental and matter derivative. Einstein, who wrestled light to the chalkboard, still called the intuitive mind a sacred gift. David Bohm envisioned an implicate order, reality folded inside itself like music inside an instrument, so that what appears separate is only the visible portion of a deeper coherence. Penrose and Hameroff, controversial and courageous, pointed to quantum processes inside microtubules as possible theaters for awareness. Whether or not every detail survives scrutiny, the direction of the arrow is clear. Interiority participates in the constitution of the world you touch. Zoom in further. The vagus nerve, wandering diplomat between brain, heart, lungs, and gut, translates safety into physiology. Slow exhale, softened gaze, honest tears. The nerve listens and relays, easing the amygdala's alarms, shifting blood flow from survival to presence. Neuroplasticity renders this not a temporary grace, but a trainable trait. Attention sculpts, networks, breath trains, thresholds, meaning reassigns value to stimuli until the same life feels less like assault and more like weather. Mitochondria, the cell's small suns, alter their energy strategy under chronic stress. When safety returns, they resume abundance. Your biology is not stubborn. It is loyal to whatever story your nervous system believes. Zoom out. Entrainment is not metaphor. Fireflies synchronize, pendulum clocks align on a shared wall. Human brains in conversation mirror each other's rhythms. You are an oscillator among oscillators. When your interior timekeeper is frantic, your life recruits frantic company. When your rhythm steadies, the world reveals its hidden metronomes. Coherence is not a personal achievement, it is a public good. Now, a confession to set you free. The sensations that spook you, the tremor in the chest, the pressure behind the eyes, The odd insomnia that feels like you are being watched by a kindness are not always symptoms to crush. They are often signatures of retuning. A system moving from brace to open will shake. A diaphragm held tight for years will ache when it remembers the ocean. A heart defended by excellence will misbehave when asked for intimacy. Do not medicate every messenger. Some are midwives. We imagine enlightenment as brightness without heat. The body refuses that cartoon. It wants conduction, not theater. It wants breath to speak kindly to blood, posture to confess to gravity, words to stop lying to jaw and tongue. When these treaties are signed, the spiritual becomes measurable, and the measurable becomes holy. You do not have to choose between a mantra and a microscope. You are the meeting place of both. And here is the quiet physics of integration. Systems prefer stable attractors, patterns they can fall into without negotiation. For years, your attractor might have been urgency. Every cell learned its choreography. To shift the attractor to sincerity, where doing matches being, you must endure the wobble while the new basin deepens. This is the part that masquerades as burnout. It is not an end. It is the friction of old coherence losing its claim. When you refuse to rush the process, the graph settles. Heart rate variability improves, sleep returns with gifts, digestion remembers joy, and thought stops chewing its own tail. You do not glow because you worked harder. You glow because your current found a conductor worthy of it, your honest body. Night deepens, but it doesn't grow darker, it grows older. The air around you feels like it remembers firelight and chants. You sense the heartbeat of every scientist who ever doubted and every mystic who ever knew. Somewhere between their breaths, a threshold opens, and through it, the next memory begins to speak. When the ancients dreamed in equations, before language divided wisdom into categories, the world was read like scripture, not written, but felt. The Hermetic philosophers whispered, as above, so below, unaware that one day we'd call it fractal geometry. The Upanishads described the Atman reflecting Brahman, not knowing they were sketching the holographic principle. The ancients didn't lack science, they lived inside it, unmediated, unafraid of its implications. Pythagoras heard music in the motion of planets and taught that the universe was not built from matter, but from ratio, vibration, frequency, relationship. To him, harmony was not metaphor, but measurement. The Taoists said, the 10,000 things rise together and return as one, their way of explaining entanglement before the word existed. In their silence, modern physics can hear its own origin story. Consider this. The temples of Egypt were not only houses of gods, but resonant chambers. Hieroglyphs for sound and creation were the same. To speak was to shape. Modern acoustic research shows those chambers amplified frequencies in alignment with the human voice, turning chanting into standing waves. The ancients didn't pray, they calibrated. Their sound shaped stone, their breath carved energy. And in the East, yogic adepts mapped the nervous system in mantric metaphors, the Sushumna, Ida, Pingala, which mirror the spinal cord, and sympathetic parasympathetic currents. The Kundalini serpent was their poetic shorthand for ascending bioelectricity. They understood that consciousness climbs anatomy like lightning climbs a tree. What science now detects in brain coherence and gamma synchrony, mystics once called samadhi, the still point where thought becomes transparent to itself. They had no graphs, only geometry of devotion. Yet both traditions chased the same equation. Awareness equals energy organized by love. The deeper we study, the clearer it becomes. The ancients were not primitive dreamers. They were quantum physicists speaking in metaphor. Their myths encoded the mathematics of belonging. And perhaps the modern mind, with all its instruments, has only begun to remember what they never forgot, that the soul is not a story told by the brain, but the field from which the brain arises. The human pulse of awakening. Let's bring it closer. Beneath the poetry and the physics, there is you sitting in the small room of your own becoming. Bills on the table, breath in the chest, a heartbeat trying to match the tempo of truth. There are mornings when you feel translucent, as if your body is half remembering its starlight origin. Other mornings, you feel buried in the gravity of being human, dishes, deadlines, doubt. Both are sacred. Awakening isn't the abandonment of the ordinary, it's the illumination of it. Bruce Lipton once said, "The moment you change your perception is the moment you rewrite your biology." He was not exaggerating. The nervous system eavesdrops on every belief. Think you are behind, and your cells mirror scarcity. Know you are ripening, and your chemistry adjusts accordingly. The body believes the story you tell it, so tell it one spacious enough for mystery. Even your exhaustion is holy. It is how the body insists on integration. The fatigue that makes you cancel plans is not failure. It is the soul's gentle veto against speed. When you finally rest, the light you absorbed begins to root. Every sigh is a synaptic rebalancing. Every tear, an electromagnetic discharge of outdated emotion. You are the interface of two infinities, the measurable and the mystical. Every heartbeat is a crossing. When you stop judging your fluctuations, your biology stabilizes. The old spiritual commandment, "Be still and know," was never about inaction. It was about electrical coherence. Stillness isn't empty, it's organized. When you pause, your field reorders. You become a conductor again, capable of carrying voltage without short-circuiting. To be human is to oscillate between brilliance and bewilderment, between physics and prayer. Your stumbles are not regressions, they are calibrations. You are learning how to walk on light without leaving the ground. That is the art of awakening, not an escape from the world, but its deeper participation. Emotion, the architect of reality. If thought is the sketch, emotion is the color. Emotion paints frequency into matter, translating invisible intention into tangible form. Greg Braden once called it the language the field understands. He was right, but the truth goes deeper. Emotion is not merely communication, it is creation pressure. Think of the heart as both compass and transmitter. Its rhythm shapes electromagnetic geometry that interacts with every atom within and around you. When you feel genuine gratitude, the field it emits organizes photons into symmetry. When you feel resentment, that same field becomes turbulent. Physics meets feeling at the border of coherence. The ancients understood this intuitively. They knew that joy was not a mood, but a technology, a harmonizing force. The Egyptian Ka and Ba, the Chinese Qi, the Sanskrit Prana, all spoke of emotional electricity as the life that moves life. The modern mind divides them into hormones and neurotransmitters, yet both describe the same alchemy. Emotion turns potential into pattern. Your nervous system doesn't respond to affirmations, it responds to resonance. You can say, "I am light," 1,000 times, but if your emotional field vibrates with self-rejection, the quantum blueprint reads static. The universe is not fooled by words. It measures waveform integrity. The key is not to force positive emotion, but to make space for authentic feeling. When sadness is allowed, its frequency softens into compassion. When anger is heard, it becomes protection, without violence. Every unexpressed emotion becomes stored electricity, waiting for discharge. Every acknowledged emotion becomes current movement, flow, life. In the HeartMath data, coherent emotion aligns heart and brain rhythms, producing physiological efficiency and a sense of unity. In mystic language, that same moment is called grace. Both are accurate descriptions of the same event, truth finally flowing without interference. When you master this, you stop chasing alignment, you become alignment. Emotion ceases to be a storm and becomes climate, steady, self-sustaining, vast. You stop manifesting from need and start emanating from wholeness. And the field, that vast, unseen intelligence we keep calling universe, responds with precision. Because at that level, emotion isn't personal anymore. It's structural. Somewhere between one heartbeat and the next, the silence thickens. The air no longer feels like space, it feels like memory. You sense that the path ahead doesn't extend forward but downward, into the architecture of your own light. 7 doors await, each one labeled not with words, but with a feeling. The sevenfold descent of the light. The first door is fear, the instinctual gate. It does not guard you from darkness, it guards the darkness that guards you. Fear is the tension of a soul learning gravity. It asks only that you breathe where you used to brace. Every inhale here is a contract with survival rewritten as trust. The second door is desire, the fire that once sought control, now yearning for communion. Here, the body remembers that pleasure was never sin but circuitry. Energy begins to move like tide instead of demand. You rediscover appetite as devotion, the sacred urge to merge with life itself. The third door is power, the solar threshold. It glows gold, humming with every unfinished story of domination and defense. Stand here until you realize that power without presence is panic. When awareness floods this chamber, will becomes luminous, no longer control, but direction given wings. The fourth door is love, not sentiment, but field coherence itself. This is the chamber where duality starts to stutter. You look into the face of everything you once resisted and see yourself gazing back. The heart expands beyond metaphor into physics, a 5,000 times stronger magnetic field, organizing chaos into order. Love is geometry, performing empathy. The fifth door is truth, blue as resonance. Here the voice learns honesty without armor. Every unsaid word stored in the fascia releases like thunder finding air. Sound becomes ceremony, vibration becomes medicine. What leaves your lips realigns worlds. The sixth door is vision, indigo silence. The mind stops solving and starts seeing. Pattern replaces panic. Symbols arrange themselves into clarity, and the universe begins to speak in coincidences so precise they cannot be ignored. The seventh door is crown violet dissolution. No throne, no halo, only transparency. You look for yourself and find the cosmos blinking. Awareness has no edges. Identity dissolves into participation. The observer and the observed collapse into a single pulse. Existence recognizing its own reflection. You do not ascend through these doors like steps. You resonate through them like music. Sometimes you sing 2 notes at once, sometimes none. The order is irrelevant, the surrender is not. When all 7 are humming, your body becomes what every temple tried to imitate, a conduit where eternity remembers form. When the river realizes it was ocean, separation unravels quietly, like silk under warm hands. There is no explosion, only recognition. The air around you feels less like atmosphere and more like conversation. Each object hums with self-awareness, waiting for you to notice that you share the same source code. David Bohm called this the hollow movement, a universe unfolding and enfolding itself eternally. Mystics called it the divine breath. Both describe the same intimacy. Nothing truly leaves anything else. You never connect with the universe. You are the universe noticing connection. In that awareness, forgiveness becomes redundant. Who is left to forgive when every offense was a misread frequency? Time itself softens, memory becomes present, future turns to fragrance. Even death, once the ultimate horizon, reveals itself as migration, not ending. You start to sense that every motion, every blink, every falling leaf, every heartbreak is choreography. The cosmos dances with your nervous system in real time. Your smallest kindness recalibrates constellations. Your withheld love leaves galaxies waiting. This is not poetic exaggeration. It is scale rendered intimate. When you finally stop trying to hold the light, you realize it was holding you in every photon, every pulse, every pause. There is no outside. There never was. The ocean was pretending to be river just long enough to learn its own flow. The art of returning home in integration is where transcendence proves its worth. After the vision, dishes still wait. The phone still rings. But something has changed. You no longer interpret the ordinary as exile. You walk slower, not from fatigue but precision. You eat as if taste were scripture. You listen until sound becomes empathy. The awakened state is not a constant peak. It is a wider valley capable of holding both sunlight and shadow. The nervous system, once startled by light, now trusts it. Breath no longer negotiates safety, it embodies it. You begin to live in rhythm rather than reaction, inhaling insight, exhaling embodiment. In this quiet mastery, humility returns as a friend. You discover that the true mystic is not the one who escapes gravity, but the one who lets gravity teach them grace. Every act, washing hands, tying shoes, forgiving late arrivals, becomes liturgy. Spirit and matter stop competing, they co-author. You are no longer chasing enlightenment, you are practicing resonance. Light moves through you at the speed of sincerity. The soul no longer shouts, it hums. And that hum threads through every room you enter, altering the physics just enough for someone else to remember peace. This is what it means to carry heaven without leaving earth, to be quietly radiant, precisely human, infinitely whole. The light that needed your silence. Dawn breathes through the window, and for the first time, the light feels personal, not a glare from the sky, but a pulse rising from within you. It moves through the body like memory remembering itself. The mind, once frantic to define, now bows in quiet recognition. You realize that awakening was never the discovery of something new. It was the removal of everything untrue. The universe is not a teacher testing you. It is an artist painting with your heartbeat. Every joy, every grief, every pause between them was brushstroke. And as you step back from the canvas of your life, the image reveals itself. Not perfection, but pattern. Not achievement, but symmetry. You no longer chase meaning. Meaning arrives uninvited, carried by the sound of your own breath. You touch the wall, and it touches back. You look at your hands and see galaxies rehearsing tenderness. Even the spaces between your thoughts shimmer with intelligence. This is what the mystics called the marriage of heaven and earth, the moment when you understand that matter is not prison, but promise. That the body you once resented for being slow was never a cage, but the altar where infinity came to pray. The final revelation is almost too simple to say. You were never becoming light. You were always its language. Every fatigue, every stillness, every silence was punctuation in a sentence the cosmos wrote through you. The burnout you feared was simply the period before a new paragraph of existence. Now, there is only the rhythm: inhale, exhale, receive, release the endless experiment of consciousness, knowing itself through form. You are no longer trying to transcend the world. You are letting the world transcend through you. Stand still for a moment longer. Feel how the air hums in agreement. The stars are not distant. They are inside your bloodstream, waiting for permission to shine again. You give it without effort. The light moves. The silence smiles. This is Quantum Quest, where consciousness becomes the experiment.